All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Shinsekai Yori, episode 21.
Devastation.
Yeah.
In our nation.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye, civilization.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, these are rhyming. Mm-hmm. But then also, Satoru's grandma.
No more water for irrigation.
Yeah, Tomiko, I believe, was nice.
Yeah.
She stayed behind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Your parents might be alive. Satoru might be alive.
I think Satoru's alive.
They
wouldn't do him that dirty.
No.
We're gonna get some terror on screen.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. But y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. There it is.
All right.
Yakumaru's grand plan is way simpler than we were thinking it was. He just abducts babies.
Yeah.
And raises them.
There you go.
It fits with the themes of this show perfectly in that it's all about raising kids.
Yeah.
And how much the raising of kids affects civilization as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And how much goes into that process that is like both almost a necessary evil and also like an unfortunate, byproduct of that necessary evil is that as adults fear children and what they can become by supplanting and replacing and bringing a new world into the civilization that they have, fought to create. That's the risk. That's the nature of this whole story is that, you don't know what the new generation is going to bring. They could upend the entire civilization. It's possible.
And what I love about this in the way that it's shaping up in this show in particular is that we know that Saki at the very least survives, right?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
She could survive and be telling the tale from within a monster rat empire. Mm-hmm. That is a full possibility. That is on the table.
I don't think that's what's going to be the case.
I don't think that's what's going to be the case, though.
Yeah.
What they now have as a situation is that they need to, they can't just kill the ogre.
Nope.
They need to get the ogre on their side to save the infants. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise, Yakumaru will just... They'll disappear at this point. Who cares if the ogre dies, right? And then eventually they'll come back and they will be unstoppable, right? Mm-hmm. So now it's something where you have to talk down Cthulhu, basically, where you have this being that is just disappearing people, right? Without even sparing it a thought, right?
Yep.
And you have to basically figure out what these monster rats told it, how they made it, start doing all of this stuff, and hope that you can change its mind.
I think that's just one of the options, but I feel like we're not even close to being there because this is a kid and it might not even be capable of like base critical thinking.
Oh yeah, the fact that it was.
So I don't think if we were diplomatizing, it would be with the ogre. It would be with Yakumaru.
Oh,
and it would be
sure.
basically under the guise of, I've removed my power. I come begging, basically, that you spare the human race.
Okay.
And it's the thing as to where we will basically remove our power, and we'll try to be basically equals here. But we need you to get rid of the ogre. The only way that we can do this is by us being equals here. And that would be basically what they'd have to do, is to find some way to take away and then destroy the knowledge of how to get back the power, basically, of people. Or they go for the violent route, which is we make ourselves ogres, basically.
Oh, if there's some way to do that, yeah.
Well, no, that's what they would have to do. They would have to design basically some kind of brainwashing or something like that. Something that, if they can remove power from people's access through that stuff, then they should be able, at the very least, to desensitize a person to the point where they don't see anybody as human.
Right, because one of the things that I might be wrong about this, but when there was the bit with the false Minashiro way long time ago, right? I believe the death of shame was introduced as something that happened that
it was a while ago.
That was brought about a long time ago.
Yeah, it's at the genetic level. It's something to basically save the human race from destroying itself.
And if it's at the genetic level, and doubly so if it happened a long time ago, that means it doesn't actually matter whether or not the child was raised outside of, society, right?
They should all have it.
Exactly. There's the micro brainwashing and stuff that they do as they're growing up, which is I believe a separate thing.
Which I think also helps it, because I think there's a reason why the ogre problem is something that happens at all, and it's because the death of shame is not perfect.
Right.
It is something that is primarily capable of being nurtured out of somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so and that's a big point to bring up, because while we clued into the idea of okay, this is Maria and Mamoru's child.
Yeah, of course.
The idea and yes, obviously, if you had a child with power, you could totally weaponize it, right?
Yep.
And I love that it's not even something as
surprising,
logical as the child believing that this is the society that is responsible for, say, your parents' death or something like that, right?
Nope.
So that you're coming at this with conviction. No, it's purely just the thing of
Yakimaru and them helped raise it.
And
Done.
just made it so that it enjoys this. It's just doing this for fun. It's not even like to
no
get the
morality
approval
to
of
it.
its parents or whatever. That's it. That's all they need.
That is not a conflict point the story's even remotely addressing, meaning that it was easy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the point, is that in the focus of having this story being about raising kids to bring about the next iteration of the world, or an entirely new one, you can grossly underestimate basically the power that you have over somebody by how you raise them. And the parents, the teachers, the society that Kamisu 66 has fostered, has created these kids, has created Satoru and Saki.
Yep.
And it takes a village, but while the genetic side of it does play a part here now in this conflict, it played no part in the idea of this conflict with Mari and Mamoru's kid.
Right.
Yeah.
And because the thing that becomes complicated is that if it's not actually genetic, or if it's something that they're introducing at birth, or something, that wouldn't be genetic then.
No, it's not. So,
but why wouldn't they then have potentially like a fail-safe person that's like,
they can't risk it.
Sure, yeah, I guess they
it's
can't
the same
risk it.
problem. I think it's a very simple solution that this show is carefully tried to basically write around all the plot holes by basically saying that it is so scary that we get an ogre, that rather than basically have some problem that creates an ogre in order to protect ourselves against ogres, which is the Ouroboros style logic.
Instead of having something that is they're all for prevention rather than actually fixing a problem when it happens.
Well, right, because the problems shouldn't happen. Their system is one that believes that it shouldn't happen this way. And the one time that they have recorded ever that it happened, or at least the most recent recording time of it happened,
which was a while ago.
Which was a long time ago. Like, no living person's memory outside of Tomiko ever kind of brings it up. So
it's ancient history, right?
Yeah,
we don't need to worry about it.
Well, right, but I think from that perspective, you really have to layer in the idea that it's way scarier to think about what would happen if they willingly took these people that they're raising, which they do see as, even their own leaders, some of them as being problematic, of no, you with the death of shame removed? Oh, hell no. Hell no.
Right. Alternatively, if you have someone like the what's his face guy that ended up getting taken apart by the ogre, that person actually seems like they'd be very helpful to have the death of shame, or to not have the death of shame.
No, I'd see that again. I think that's the point, is that they can't risk it by giving people with unlimited power the ability to be free with how they choose to use that power.
And
that's
especially
the whole point of their world being broken.
But one of the other things that is important to keep in mind about the death of shame is that it's not just that the death of shame makes it so that you die if you kill a human. It makes it so that the idea of killing a human is repugnant to you. So theoretically, if someone didn't have the death of shame, you can't say that they would even be the same person, because they might be entirely, completely different.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It's the kind of thing where to put it in the like simplest perspective, to relate it back to our society and stuff, I'm sure there are a scary amount of people that just by being in traffic would end up basically becoming psycho murderers if they had the ability to just snap and kill somebody.
Right.
Like
it's
that.
the whole Chronicle thing where, like, you know, it's just
It's literally that.
I'll just push the car a little bit and not even really thinking of, oh shit, wait, what the fuck, you know, that.
Right. It's the point that I think that a lot of people will bring up with the whole nature of human beings being good or evil, and I think that's absolutely like a pointless argument. The main thing about it is that human beings, when it comes down to it, are animals. They are just really, 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 really intelligent animals when you compare them to the majority of species on this planet.
Right, yeah.
So, therefore, you know, these animals experience fear, anger, frustration, all that stuff, but you give them the ability to subjugate and dominate and destroy another being or something like that. It does. They don't need to be some kind of special case of once in 100 years. No, that's what a lot of people are.
And
we'll just
how much there's a philosophical viewpoint that the main reason why humanity is able to work and society is able to work the way it does is not actually because people believe in the morals, but because there's enough retribution if they don't.
Right, which is the point of the death of shame being an intrinsic biological thing in this story, is that most people feel some kind of revulsion around hurting other people. So we're just taking that and cranking that up to the nines to basically say, oh, okay, most people watching this would be like, oh yeah, I kind of get the idea of like if you see someone hurting a puppy and kicking him,
it makes you sick.
You just go, oh God, why are you doing that? Like, So this is that, but to people, which is, for most instances, I would say that's pretty amazing. If you could basically make it where people in general saw harming other people as being this horrific thing, but then it's also the, oh, but well, so what does it mean when we do it to the monster rats, huh? Right. Oh, monster rats aren't human?
Well, or
therefore it's suddenly like no revulsion?
Or the other thing that's tough about it, and this is where I'm not going to call it a plot hole, because there's elements of it where it's a little bit softer as far as a
system,
set of mechanics and things, is since it's not just that the killing is the actual thing that makes you die, right? That's the physical, triggered response where
why aren't legs being broken and
not just why aren't legs being broken, but how, with the impure cats, that is showcasing that the softer side of the death of shame is not necessarily even that effective, because it's also supposed to be the idea that people there is no desire to kill people, and yet they're like, no, let's absolutely get rid of these problematic kids, stick the trickster cats on them, they're too much of a risk.
Right, because that's a conceptual kid. They're not actually looking at the kid specifically and being like, you need to be gotten rid of.
Well, but in some cases it is.
No. But see, that's the thing, is that the creation of... See, there's the difference between, like, having the cats being sicked on the kid, right, versus the cats being created.
Well, no, totally. But, I totally get the creation of the cats and things like that, yes. But if you were to say, like, you point a gun at someone, pull the trigger, you kill them, right? That's, you killed a person, and you saw it happen, so maybe that's the difference. But if you have something where then it's I'm signing this order for this tool to then kill a person, right? There would need to be that level of distinction, and for that to be different, because say you're not.
And they have made that distinction there, that it is primarily I am not actually the one doing it.
Right.
I am then a vessel by which the order is made for the other thing to do it, and that is the sick, twisted thing of the society, is that they have figured out a way around the death of shame. But their primary stopgap is a power one, not an actual moral one. It's one of, well, we don't actually have the power to kill an ogre, so we're not able to do it.
Right, and again, it's and that's the part where it can get a little tough too, because if it's that they're fine with making decisions that will cause someone to die, and that's not preventative, right? That's showing how the death of shame is a retaliatory thing, right? But you don't have anyone or the guy here being like, that's fine, I'll die to the death of shame, but I'll take the ogre down with me. You know,
right. And that's the other kind of thing where it's the death of shame is very specifically, I would say, also a thing that's focused on power as well. That has to be a part of it as well, because the other thing is that you could very easily with power just kind of go, this will not kill you, and then just break their legs. And then it's now their likelihood of surviving in the long haul has lessened a little bit.
Right. But the ogre at least won't be able to travel easily to other places and kill more people.
Right. But there is a vagary surrounding the death of shame that is basically the blank check to avoid all these problems by basically saying, no, the thought of using power on a person in a harmful way even is it disgusts people. Right. So it's something where you would be effectively trying to make yourself gorge on shit. You know, it's just it's actually something that even the thought of it, like, you know, reviles you. But if you have something that is going to be the indirect method for it, then it's oh good, I'm not the one doing it, therefore it's fine. And that's where the fucked up society thing comes in. So within the context of having the Kamisu 66 being destroyed, we don't have our guardians anymore. It's now down to us. We have ourselves at the Temple of Purification. We're learning from the crew that went to go wipe out the robber flies, and they basically were like, oh shit. So we did have to move, and they're here to kill us. Quick, send the ogre out. Right. And they're like, wait, what are you doing here? Instant death. But the idea of the monster rats being so terrifying, despite him being able to level their army when it comes out, it's not about whether or not he could just do that. Yep. He now knows that the thing that's most terrifying is that the monster rats are just there to be like ones that point out where they need to send their messiah, which is so brilliant.
The messiah
for
that came from heaven and the land of the gods and comes to us, and then will, you know, like that is the
chosen one versus chosen one. Yeah. We have you know, we have Saki, who might be to bring things back to like psychopaths in some ways, might be
criminally asymptomatic, and then we find out that it's like, no, you actually could.
We might have been testing a biologic. That's something I hope they don't do, where it's we've been testing on kids to slowly reduce the death of shame's impact.
But also, if that's so, given that Saki is like Tomiko, and that's how it was introduced. Like, I'm also like you. We're kind of different in this particular way.
We're able to kind of handle the stress of this shit a little bit more. Yeah.
If it's something where Saki was then able to be free from the death of shame, why wouldn't Tomiko have tried that? You know, like I guess she wouldn't know, but she's been around for hundreds of years, you know, and if she's in a situation where she's faced with that would she try it?
That's actually the part that I would really love them to bring up, is to go a little bit more into the mechanics of the death of shame, and the reveal is not that it's about the death of shame being perfect, but it's the idea that the longer you're in the society, or the longer you get like some brainwashing and stuff like that, it reinforces it to where once you've reached a certain threshold, you're good.
Sure.
And for Tomiko's place especially, she's like, oh, this would never work on me. I'm ancient. Like, I've had my patterns of like my neural pathways so like lined up and everything. I cannot do this. This would need to be a child that does this. And it'd be one that could be interesting if, like, maybe even from Saki and Satoru's perspective, they're even maybe a little too old as well. And it's something where we have to abandon Japan and stuff like that and just hope to eventually, sickeningly, have ourselves a kid that we can raise right.
To go back and fight our fight?
Well, not to fight our fight, but just to basically...
be our security that keeps us alive?
Well, no, just to raise them right. Basically, that the idea is that this is the failings of the society here. This wasn't something that was about the monster rats creating this perfect one there. Any kid raised outside of this society that'll be the way they could do the reveal, is that they would eventually basically have some only slight aspect of the death of shame. Well, but to them that would be too scary. You know?
One of the other things that I thought of, because the introduction of the death of shame was a very long time ago. It could be that we're misremembering things about it being genetic or whatever.
It is genetic.
Yeah, but
I 100% know it's genetic. Yeah.
But one of the other things that could potentially happen, I could see this being a thing, is that given that the one guy that originally went to go round them up after they found the false Minashiro ended up being hurt by the death of Shame because of something that wasn't human.
Right, it was because of his perceptions
but it's
about them.
perception. If Yakumaru just had something where they found some drug or whatever that they could keep the kid hopped up on whenever they need to use it, right? And it's just, oh yeah, here's your medicine, go have fun, honey,
Sure.
right? And then suddenly it isn't able to actually recognize these people as human in its mind, also because it wasn't raised with them, so it wouldn't necessarily have the concept of humans, but even then it wouldn't necessarily know what it is
but again,
that it looks like and all that stuff. And
that's just the nurture argument again, that you could just out-nurture the death of Shame. It's not about it being an immutable genetic thing where it's objective. It's just it's about perceptions. It's about mindset and actual perceptions. It's just perceptions, which means that you could absolutely train that whole side of things out of somebody.
And if you think about it, with the the way that people usually approach killing people, if that's something that they're forced to do, is by vilifying, by it's dehumanizing, right? It's the no that those people are not human, right? So okay, I'm able to sleep a little bit better at night.
Yeah.
So that if it was something like that, that would make this whole use of the death of Shame and circumventing it very fun as a sort of tie into our society.
Yeah, if we want to go back to the world building, they're definitely setting up a lot in that the monster rats were human at some point, and it's just the question as to when will that be relevant in the story to bring up what the monster rats really are, because the monster rats are kind of acting in some ways like what humans would act. Like the monster rats are only not really human in our mind because of the classification of them being called monster rats.
Right,
but
they've got the teeth and the tails and the red eyes and
Right, but we know what the psychics were doing as gods back then.
Yeah, exactly.
Where they literally made the death of Shame.
And they seem a hell of a lot more similar to humans in as far as behavior and things like that than they do to rats.
That's They're just human rats at this point, basically.
Yep.
And then it's the yeah. Remember when there were, a whole bunch of subdivisions of humans and ones that couldn't use power and they were used as slaves and stuff? And it's that sounds a lot like the monster rats.
Oh, yeah. So, and I loved how when the guy was like floating up into the air and he's like, all right, we're going to kill all of the monster rats and everything. It's like, yeah, genocide. Yeah, go. But then it also is like the callback to the God Emperor, way back when. Like it was, it looked like it was shot in like very much the same way.
Very similar, yeah.
Yeah.
There were actually a lot of shots in this episode that were kind of weird in that I didn't really understand the purpose of them a couple times. There were ones where he like collapses a hole into the village and suddenly there's just a whole bunch of monster rats in the ground underneath them. That
gave me the sense that like the monster rats had like been digging a bunch of tunnels and stuff, but it's like they wouldn't. What?
Yeah.
How would
and then also there was just this really like interesting fixation on the whole like, oh, this is what technology we used to have. This is where, this is what humanity like had before, and now it's just gone. And I was like, I kind of get the theme there's kind of going for here, but those shots lasted for like 20 seconds or something like that in the later part of the episode. So I feel like at times there are episode directors, if Shinsekai Yori has episode directors, or if it's just one. I mean, I would assume they have episode directors, but there's some of them where I'm just like, I feel like they don't communicate enough within the shots, or they end up communicating things that are like,
right,
what?
There's times where the I don't know anything about directing or anything like that, but it feels like the directing is like really on point. It makes me nervous, it makes me apprehensive or whatever, But then there's things where it's just kind of like, this isn't working for me.
Visually, I'm like,
okay. But wonderful episode. The reveal of it being Mario and Mamoru's child was fantastic. I absolutely adored it.
Yeah, I mean, we knew.
Right, we knew, but it's the confirmation of that thing that you know.
It's to see Saki basically scared out of her mind and seeing this and then being like, oh no, my nightmare is realized. It's
Yep.
They're right in front of me.
And now I have no idea what they're going to do for the remaining episodes, because there's a fair amount of episodes left, and yet like they're boned. Like what do they do at this point? Do they do
there's not that many episodes left. No, I think there's only 2.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, let me check here. Oh, sorry. No, there are 4 episodes.
4
left.
episodes. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have 4 episodes of this. Like,
I mean, the last one's going to be some kind of epilogue.
Probably.
Yeah. But all right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below. For our Patreon, you can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yes, if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all
next time.